All right, everybody, this is your week one content overview. Now, we are in the month of November, heading into Thanksgiving week here, you guys. And so, for that reason, we're going to have kind of a weird week one together because due to the Thanksgiving break, we don't have class for those of you who are on campus on Wednesday. And you don't have any assignments due from Wednesday through Sunday. Now, what happens when you don't have any assignments due during that time is that they all have to be due after the break. So, even though nothing is technically due, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to get started early and start pushing through with these activities. This little talk is just designed to give you some background information and answer any questions here in the classroom about a few assignments here in week one. So again, big question to start us off. Where do websites come from, you guys? The internet. That's where they live. They come, people make them, yeah. Yeah, like where do we come from? Why do we have them? Explain things, display things. So the stork doesn't deliver them. Amazon Prime doesn't deliver them. What is, okay, provide information on the go. These are all like generally correct answers, right? But there is a kernel of truth that all of these sprout from. And that kernel of truth is that all websites come from a need, right? A need to display information, a need to sell a product, a need to build a brand. Somebody has a need and then they build a site to address that need, right? In this particular class, many students were afraid that we were going to examine this need through the lens of coding, right? We are not, right? We're examining this need from a more strategic position, right? We're taking a look at, okay, what does the user of this website need and what does the business need? And how can we build a site that accommodates both of those things, right? So in a sense, we are looking at this need through this dual lens, understanding the user needs and then also developing something that meets the requirements of the business that we're creating it for. When I say business, I mean business, organization, project, just the person who's building the site, basically, right? The user is the person who's visiting the site, okay? So what are user needs, you guys? I kind of alluded to this in our previous few talks here this morning or afternoon, or what is it, evening now? It's hard to know. There's no windows in the classroom. I'll tell you what, last week with the time change, and I teach the same time every month, which is 3 to 5 p.m. And I got out like maybe around 5:30 last week and I came outside and it was totally dark and it really threw me for a loop. I was like, what? I had totally forgotten about the time change, but sorry guys, I totally digress. What are user needs? Users come to websites to satisfy goals, answer questions, or to complete a task of some kind. We'll examine this more in week 2, but generally what you're doing on website can be either one of these things or a combination of these things. These are broad categories. What are business needs? Why do businesses need websites? Well, maybe they want to establish an online presence or promote a brand or sell something or share info or raise awareness about something, build community and engagement, or maybe it's just marketing of some kind to capture leads to address in another way, in another application. So as a web strategist, which is what I call you guys here this month, because there is a very important thoughtfulness that needs to happen with your designs. I call you web strategists, not just web designers. And kind of, side note tangent, It's nice that this class is so close to graphic design because this will also shape how you are able to think about what you create in terms of visuals and the strategy behind that. So as a designer or as a web strategist here, you're looking for a sweet spot, you guys. And that sweet spot is the area where the business needs and the user needs overlap to create the most effective website, right? In that overlap area, you are addressing everybody. So I kind of alluded to this in a previous lecture as well, that web design is incredibly complex, and it is an amalgam of a lot of different disciplines. An amalgam means like a combo or a mixture. And throughout this month and throughout our work together, you're going to see elements of graphic design and information architecture and user experience considerations, marketing, usability, and project management. How do you work through a website development scenario from start to finish, and you manage that project from beginning to end. So in this way, I am asking you guys to look at the activities and the exercises not through a lens of coding and not just through the lens of how does this affect a user and a business and what their needs are, but the lens of being an MCBS student, right? Follow me here on this point. You guys, we often refer to you as media strategists, right? But what does that really even mean? It means that you have broad knowledge across a lot of different disciplines, right? This degree program is a smorgasbord of topics. It is new media tools, it's graphic design, it's web development, it's gaming and transmedia, it's video, it's audio, it's all of these things, right? And just like web design is all of these things, right? It's not just one skill that you're developing, but a combination of skills that go hand in hand with one another. Everything that you learn in graphic design will be applicable to what you design for websites. Those principles, right? Those principles of proximity and alignment, you will need those to create a good web design. What you learn in like media research, you will need to find out more about your target audience. What you learn in new media tools you'll need, because there are programs like content management systems or editing software or different things that you will need to create assets for your websites, right? In video production, you'll learn different things about how do you export a video so that it is optimized to be played on a website. So I just want to highlight for you that this isn't just one discipline, and you aren't just flexing one set of skills or muscles, but a combination of them. And that is what makes you even more thoughtful in your designs, right? Because it's not just, can I make this thing look pretty? It's, can I make this thing look pretty and work really, really well? That is strategy. All right, so one of the objectives of this class is to identify the 4 main phases of any website development project. And there you go. They're on the screen right now. So it is the discovery phase, the design phase, the development phase, and the deployment phase. Now, just a reminder, you guys, all these presentations are available to you again after this class. So if there's any points that you want to follow up on, you can absolutely go back and revisit. But in the discovery phase, this very much mimics project management life cycle, and also like a production life cycle. What are the 3 stages of production?
Pre-production, production, and post-production.
Right? And what do you do in pre-production? Plan and organize. That's exactly what you do in the website development process. The first part, the discovery, it's learning about your client, learning about the needs of the situation, learning about your target audience, doing a proposal, a wireframe, a site map, right? This is your plan. It's like your storyboard, if you will, before you get out there and you try to shoot. The design phase is when you start to bring those ideas to life, right? You are starting to maybe do a mood board or some mock-ups. And then once you have hung out with your client and showed them what you've created and how you're able to extend their brand in XYZ way online, and they're on board with your ideas, like that's when you move them into development. You start to execute on those ideas. You take that mock-up that you created, which is maybe a single page, and you apply those visual stylings and that look and feel and the organization of that content throughout the whole site, right? And then you bring that site to life. You post it out there and people start to use it. And you get feedback as to, oh, well, I thought this would be here. Or, oh, this is hard to read and understand. Or, oh, you left this out, right? That's what happens with any sort of launching of any sort of project is you get feedback, right, for people. So even after you deploy a website and you send it out to the world, like websites are evergreen environments. Well, I take that back. They're not evergreen environments. Evergreen means that the content never needs updating, and that's not true. What I meant is it's a living, breathing thing that you will constantly be needing to go back because the content is, some content can be evergreen, like the origin story for Real Deal Tacos is going to be, it's always going to stay the same, there are certain things that will remain relevant and pertinent over time, but things like the daily special, that's going to need to be updated. The rotating schedule of stops where this food truck visits, that's going to need to be updated as needed, right? So even with the website development process and you've sent it out into the world, you're always going to have to come back and revisit for maintenance and or different kinds of opportunities to get a new message out there, a new marketing campaign or different things like that. So you'll loop back around and you'll begin again, right? With the planning, with the strategizing, with a mock-up of something. Now, one of the things, pieces of feedback that I heard last month, and it was totally unsolicited, and I was like, can you say that louder and into the mic as I'm recording it, please, because it's such an important thing. They just said, I didn't know how important and valuable the planning process was. Because as creatives, we like to kind of just get started and jump into the kind of the fun part of it, and the fun part is usually the visual aspect or having something that you can see as a more tangible version of your ideas. But if your ideas aren't solid to begin with or well planned out, you're never going to get that really nice execution on that idea because it's going to be wobbly from the start. So a piece of advice from a student last month, really pay attention to these planning steps. Now, the reason why this student said this is because in week 1 and 2 in this class, you will build a website from start to finish for Real Deal Tacos. In week 3 of this class, I ask you guys to build your portfolio website. Now, I know that your portfolio can't be built in its entirety and grandeur in one short week. But let's say you have the experience of building the site for Real Deal Tacos in week 1 and 2. You will have a certain amount of familiarity with website building tools and processes that will allow you to move forward in building your portfolio site in a faster, more meaningful way, right? The difference between these two projects is that Real Deal Tacos, there is a folder full of content and assets that is basically allowing you to plug and play this activity. I've given you the building blocks and I've said, build me something with them. The portfolio site is different because you not only have to build something, you have to build your own blocks, right? The reason why the portfolio assignment is harder is because you're not getting a content or like a content folder just to kind of pick and plug into, your site. You're responsible for that content as well, right? Now, in the first part of this course, in week 1, we spend a lot of time in the discovery phase. During this time, you will be doing an activity called Content Strategy, which is a lynda.com tutorial. That's fantastic, you guys. Like, it has so much application just beyond this class and beyond website design, but the ideas in it are stuff that you'll find very valuable, beyond web applications. I ask you to answer a few questions after you've watched that Lynda and to let me know how you're going to apply the insight that you learned to your Real Deal Taco project, right? Then I ask you to do some competitor research. Actually, let me use this slide instead. But I kind of want to highlight, if we look here in the between the discovery and the design phases here, you see things like an inventory. An inventory means like gathering information. You're like doing kind of a check of what's available to you. An inventory would be where you're saying, what assets do I have? And in the case of Real Deal Tacos, like looking at that shared Google Drive folder to see, okay, I have to build a site using this information, great. Like I see it, I know what's available, right? Research, that is going to mirror what we see over here, the competitor research activity, where I ask you guys to take a look at 3 potential competitors for Real Deal Tacos, right? I get questions like this from students. Can I look at Taco Bell as a competitor? Well, yeah. Real Deal Tacos serves tacos in San Diego, so does Taco Bell. So I would say that is a competitor. Can I look at other food trucks in San Diego that don't sell tacos? Well, if Real Deal Tacos is parked outside the zoo and so is like Mike's barbecue truck, they're a direct competitor, right? Because people can choose tacos or barbecue. You can look at other food trucks in San Diego that are not taco specific. Can I look at a fish taco food truck as a competitor that does not work out of San Diego? You know what? Why not? Because this is not just about finding out who your competitors are, but also like what are other people doing in your industry and how are they doing it well? And what of their designs can inspire like cool ideas for what you could do for Real Deal Tacos? So the answer to that is absolutely. I've had students say, can I look at companies that only have a Facebook page? Yeah. I think that that's a very interesting perspective to take and ask yourself, you know, like how is this company interacting with their audience? How are they using this platform in a meaningful way? And why is it that they don't need a website? And do I think that they do need a website? Those would all be interesting things to comment on in your video analysis, right? So that is your competitor research activity. That's the one I talked about, having a video review. The expectation there, you guys, is that it's going to be 3 minutes or less, that you are going to be working from notes or a script, right? No ums or long pauses in between what it is that you want to say, like know ahead of time. What I'm expecting in terms of visuals is basically a tour of the site that you are commenting on. When you say something like, in this area here, you know, this ad and the color, I want to see that on screen, right? You can either use screen capture technology, which is available to you in QuickTime, right, where you're like doing a screen recording. I can demo that for you here in a second if you haven't seen it. Alternatively, you can take screenshots, right, and put that into like a narrated slideshow similar to how you guys do your progress presentations in Portfolio, okay? Remind me and I'll show you how. Actually, let me just get out of here and do it in case somebody at home can't take a look at this. So in QuickTime, I've launched it, and then I can go new screen recording, right? And if I hit new screen recording and I go, it's going to record like the mouse movements and what I'm doing and what you're seeing on screen, okay? To be clear, I don't want to see any talking head like footage. I don't want you to turn on your iSight camera and, you know, just be talking into the camera. If you're illuminating some sort of interesting perspective or point in your video, I want to see the visual that corresponds with that, okay? And then last but not least, we've got our proposal presentation. Again, you guys, all of these assignments have been extended to the time after Thanksgiving break. That means that your content strategy activity is due Tuesday night, tomorrow night, right? And this is the same for online, so listen up, folks. Your content strategy due Tuesday night. That is it until next Monday. Monday night, your competitor research is due. Tuesday night, your proposal presentation is due. Wednesday night, your writing for the web activity is due. And Thursday night, your content management system activity is due. Now, if you are unlucky enough as these campus students to be taking more than one course, you're likely going to have to compete with other activities. This is a lot. Please just be mindful of your time and of progressing through this. Like, we have to get through this material. There's no question about that. I'm here to support you, again, if an extension is needed, but please complete these activities in the order because it is a prescribed order to understand the process. If we jump back here, notice the correspondence, the inventory, research, your proposal for your ideas, and then we're going to move into the design, develop, mock-up, build, and get that site out there, right? So there is an importance to doing this in a sequence. I'm going to jump back here because I want to talk a little bit about the proposal presentation. This is where you are putting together your ideas and almost your pitch, really, for Real Deal Tacos. You're saying, hey, Real Deal, like, I looked at all of the information. I'm familiar with your company. I'm familiar with the content that you have. I've researched some of your competitors, and these are my ideas to build the best site possible for you. This is the content management system that I think I want to use. This is the sitemap that I recommend. A sitemap is basically an outline or a list of pages with a detail of the content that you would find there, right? So let's say that the sitemap says home, about, menu, locations, and then under home it says large banner image, featured menu item of the day, current location of the truck, one testimonial, and slideshow of images. All right. Then, like, if I'm the client and you've detailed it for me down to that level, I have an understanding of what you intend to share on which pages. Now, let's say I'm not good with just kind of the verbal or the written explanation, but I need to see something. That's where your wireframe comes into play. This proposal presentation has 4 parts. The written part, where you are verbalizing or articulating your plan. The sitemap, think of it as an outline that details what content is going to go on which page. The wireframe, which is a grayscale diagram, right? It doesn't have images, it doesn't have like text. It's basically designed to show structure and content areas. That is it, right? And each one of these things should support each other. For example, if in the proposal you say, I recommend that we build a simple 5-page website that highlights information on the home page, about page, menu page, location page, yada, yada, yada. Your sitemap should then show those same 5 pages and detail the content to go on those same 5 pages. And then when I look at your diagram, I can see, okay, here's the content areas that they have corresponded with the sitemap, that they have corresponded with what they said in kind of the verbal explanation of that proposal. Do you see how they align and support one another, right? They do not contradict one another. Does that make sense, you guys? Okay. And then the last step of what you're going to see there is a narrated presentation of this material, right? So similar to the progress presentation, you will have slides where you are talking me through your ideas for the site. I know that sounds like a lot. I see it on your faces, you guys. I'm so sorry. Guys, I know. And imagine what it's like for us instructors, like when we get back from a break too, and our students turn in just like loads and loads and loads and loads of assignments that we have to grade so many things. It's like incredibly overwhelming for all of us. And we're here, we're in it together. We will support each other through it. But honestly, what it takes is just communication, like between all of us, right? So that is basically it for your overview of the content in week 1. I want to encourage you guys to really enjoy and take advantage of this break, but also like don't shoot yourself in the foot for when you come back. Like don't sabotage your week 2 by totally and completely checking out. If nothing else, read ahead on all of the assignments just to even know what's being asked of you. Common feedback that I get about this class is it is a lot of work. It's not that hard, is what people say, but it's work, right? And you have kind of an assumption that it's going to be this way or that way or easy, but when you get in there, you find that, oh, it's not quite as easy, and it takes a little bit of time to get up to speed with some of this stuff, right? So I just want to give you those words of caution on the front end and just to say, holler if you need me.